It's about that time. Folks, football is back, and hey, so am I. I apologize for my absence. I really haven't talked much about the 49ers or football in general since the draft. I had kind of a busy summer. Thanks for asking. I went to, what was it, like 3 different states this summer, and then traveled throughout California. Went to LA, went to Disneyland. Hey, fun summer. I had a fun summer. But I forgot about you guys. I didn't worry about you guys at all. That's not true. I worried about you guys. I always thought about you guys. You guys are always in the back of my mind. I was like, dang, maybe I should talk about the 49ers today. But then I didn't. But now we're going into the 2025 season, and the 49ers with their back against the wall, being predicted to, not make the playoffs, not do this, not do that. I said, hold on now. We got to step on the pad. We got to step on the brakes a little bit. I got to come in. I got to come and make my prediction. I got to say what I wanted to say. I got to say what I think is going to happen. Everybody else got their turn. It's now time for my turn. So it is Tuesday. We are, 2 days away from NFL football? Couple days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 6 more days, 5 more days until 49ers football. I'm fired up. Clearly, this is a new setup. I am in a dorm now. I'm into college. I've been in college the past 2 years, for those that don't know, but I have been a commuter. Now I'm in a dorm. So it's a little bit of a different setup. If you can't read my sign there, I hope you can read it. My lovely girlfriend got it for me. She also got me this nameplate. It's made an appearance in a couple videos, but now it's a little bit more different. But hey, I hope you enjoy it. But enough chit chat about me. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're happy. I hope you had a great summer, because it's now time for 49ers football to get you either the happiest you've been or contemplate life every Sunday, sometimes Thursday, sometimes Mondays. So let's hop right into our 2025 49ers record prediction. Starting off week 1, going into Seattle, taking on the Seattle Seahawks. I've got this as a dub. Give me that, baby. The Niners always kind of, you come out the gates a little slow, but then they play some real good football. I think about that Pittsburgh Steelers game, and I was like, wow, Brandon Ayuk was just owning Patrick Peterson. Those week 1 games are always so special, and I can see that happening here against Seattle. I can see Ricky Pearsall having a big game with the receivers so banged up. You go down the list, and there's injury here. Jennings injured. Ayuk, he's not coming back until who knows when. I think it's time for Pearsall to step up. No Debo in the way, so he's going to have to be that gadget guy. And I can see it happening, man. I can see it happening. I hope that we'll have rookie Jordan Watkins ready for this game, who looked really good in the preseason. I didn't talk about the preseason on here. I did mention them on TikTok, though, if you want to go take a look at the TikTok. I hope that Jordan Watkins is ready for this game, but if not, yeah, I can see Pearsall bringing in a touchdown, maybe 2. I'm hoping for triple-digit yards. I know people think that the 49ers are, probably going to go into this game and lose because, I don't know, people think that losing Hufanga and some of those guys that they lost in the offseason, losing Debo, is going to play an impact. I really don't think we'll see that. I think the biggest hit is going to be Dre Greenlaw. But I think that we saw enough out of D. Winters and Nick Martin to feel okay. That Greenlaw's place will be replaced. Okay, it's not like Greenlaw was a spectacular. No hate to Dre Greenlaw now. I'm not trying to bash him because he's on Denver. I'm just going to be truthful. This thing that made Dre Greenlaw special was his relentlessness. Playing with his hair on fire, corralling to the ball, being aggressive. I think that we saw enough about D. Winters and Nick Martin where we can expect that type of corral. We can expect that aggressiveness. We can expect that intensity on the defensive side of the football. I hope D. Winters, he's had so much time to develop, he can do that. Nick Martin, he still needs some time, so he'll hopefully get it together later in the season, maybe next year. But those are guys that, they're going to have to bring the aggressiveness, that they're going to have to go and punch that ball out. They're going to have to pick some fights smartly now. But I think that we can see that happening. And Seattle, they're going to have Sam Darnold here, his first game with them. I just really don't think that they're that impressive as a team in general. No doubt their defense, they've got some talent. Okay, their secondary, Devon Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen, and then, they got rookie Nick Emmanwori, who is going to, I think, be a really, really good player for Seattle. But maybe not in the first game, maybe later in the season. Their linebacking core is whatever. And then the D-line, they've got guys like Brian Murphy there. Um, Offensively, though, I still am not a big threat on Sam Darnold. I don't think he can be all that. The receiving core, they have JSN. They picked up Cooper Kupp in the offseason. It'll be interesting to see how those two mesh together because they're both kind of slot-type guys. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. They lost DK Metcalf, so, that is what it is. They still have got Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, but their O-line definitely still a little bit questionable in the middle. I know they got Gray Zabel, who I think is a great pick, but I mean, he's a rookie, so you can try to pick on him a little bit. Of course, Niners got Robert Saleh back, and I think that's a very overlooked aspect of this team. I think a lot of people aren't factoring in the energy and the excitement and the game plans that he would bring. He really was the heart and soul of that 2019-2020 defense. Then people seem to forget the Niners got Robert Saleh back, man. Like, we're going to have that intensity guy. We're going to see him getting hyped up, getting the boys hyped up, calling these aggressive blitzes that we've been missing for so long. So I do think that, I think something like Upton Stout, okay, I think of K'Wan Williams and how he performed with Saleh. Always coming off of the edge, getting sacks, dang it. K'Wan Williams was always getting at the quarterback. I can see that guy, Upton Stout, rookie, being that sort of player, being that sort of dog, getting through the offensive line and getting a sack on the quarterback or getting a sneaky tackle for loss on the running back. So I can see that being a win in Seattle. I could also see it being a loss, just coming out sluggish, having such an injury-ruled offseason. I'm not going to say it's an easy win, but I think that the favor goes to the 49ers. Week 2, going into New Orleans, taking on the Saints. I've got this as a dub. The Saints are a pretty bad team. They are in a rebuilding phase. They really have not much to write home about. Alvin Kamara is great, and he's fun and all. He's on the tail end of his career. Their quarterback situation, they're starting Spencer Rattler. Oh, shiver me timbers. They drafted Tyler Shelk in the second round. Not a good move. This is a team that'll be, picking in the top 3 this year, and that's okay. Not much to say about that. I think it should be a win. It should be a win. Week 3 going up against the Arizona Cardinals. That is going to be the home opener. I've got that as a dub as well. The Niners have played really well against Arizona the past couple of years, minus last year. I think that they're good enough that they'll still take on Arizona. I think it'll be a close game, no doubt. I hope to see the defense step up here and stop Kyler Murray. I know those Robert Saleh days, they really struggled against mobile quarterbacks, so hopefully that trend doesn't continue. I hope Michael Williams can help contain the run. And but yeah, I've got it as a W there. I think Arizona, they've made some nice moves. I think that they could. There are a lot of people's picks for a sleeper team. They picked Will Johnson in the second round, who slid somehow, some way. But I didn't really care for the Darius Robinson pick last year. I think that they're just they're close. They're close, and I could see this being a Marvin Harrison breakout year. I'm a big fan of Marvin Harrison. I'm investing him in all my fantasy leagues, take note. But I don't think that they have enough to still beat the 49ers at the 49ers' full strength. Week 4 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, again, at home in Levi's. I've also got that as a W. The Jaguars are kind of in a weird phase right now where they are still trying to figure out their identity, I feel like. They really need Trevor Lawrence to take that step up, and he just kind of, it almost seems like he's plateaued maybe, but they've got the new play caller, who is it, Liam Cohen, right? So I think that he can do some good things for Jacksonville. I like the Travis Hunter pick. You traded up to go and get him, so you got to believe in him. I still think that their secondary is a little spotty. Imagining that Travis Hunter isn't playing 100% of snaps, I think the secondary is a little spotty. Their pass rush is solid. You got Josh Hines-Allen, of course, but overall, their offensive line isn't the greatest. And unless if Trevor Lawrence steps up big time, I got it as a dub for the good guys, the 49ers. And then week 5 against the Rams, a short week against the Rams in LA, Thursday night football. I do have this being the first loss for the 49ers. I think this is a team that They need their rest, man. They need their rest. Coming off of a short week, so with guys already banged up, it's going to be hard for them to be ready week 5. I mean, it's hard to tell, obviously, to predict 5-6 weeks into the future, but I mean, it's going to be tough. I don't believe in the Rams big time, but of course, Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, they have the rivalry. They always have each other's numbers. Stafford, who knows if he's going to be able to make it week 5? He's got some injuries with his back. They're saying he's starting week 1, but he's a little bit on the older end and back injuries suck. So is he going to continue and play the entire season? We'll see. Their defense is good, though. You got to respect Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. And they've made some nice moves. Lost Cooper Kupp, but then they signed Devontae Adams. So, their passing game should be solid, but overall, yeah, I've got that as a loss for the 49ers, getting their first L in week 5, going 4-1. That's still not bad, though. I know everybody wants to pick the Niners to beat the Rams because of the whole sweep, however long that consecutive streak is. I think it's about time that streak is over. What was it last year? Okay, I think they got swept by the Rams, right? Or maybe. Yeah. Anyways, I think it's going to be an L. I don't want to dwell too much on that because it's a short week. It's going to be a tough game to win regardless. Even if it does come out as a win, I feel like it could come down to a field goal. Shivers down my spine. Thinking of all the games here that are going to come down to Jake Moody's leg. I don't want to think about it. And then week 6 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. So it'll be a little hot, I think. The weather, the temperature's still going to be up there, but you've got a long week of rest. You've got extra time to prepare. So I've got it as a W. I think it'll be a tough one. Okay, Baker is always a dog, and he always seems to play some of his best football against Nick Bosa. Last year, against Tampa Bay, we saw it come down to Jake Moody's field goal. We saw Deebo Samuel and Tabor Pepper get into it. Both guys no longer on the team. I hope it doesn't come down to that again. But, Tampa Bay, they're always a team that they can win any week. They can be as good as the best team in the league. They can beat the Ravens, the Chiefs of the league, but you can catch them slacking. You can catch them on a bad day. This is a team that I think that the 49ers will come out on top. I think it'll be a hard-fought battle. I think it'll be a great game. I picked the good guys. And then versus the Atlanta Falcons, back home in Levi's, I've got a W there as well. I put an asterisk on this one because I do also think this could also be an L depending on Michael Penix and how well he ends up playing. He's still a bit of a question mark. We still don't really know, is he the real deal? So if he is dealing and slicing and dicing weeks 1 through 6, it'll be tough. It'll be tough because he's a guy that can also move. He can move. He's annoying. He's kind of similar to Russell Wilson in that sense. And again, Salah struggled against those mobile type quarterbacks. So I gave them the W, but it very well could be an L if Michael Penix starts playing well, because I think that the Falcons have a really talented offense and they've got a lot of young stars on the defense. You got the guys, AJ Terrell. I just drafted James Pierce and Jalen Walker. So I think that pass rush could be something really special. But again, they are also rookies. So are they going to be special in week 7? I don't know. So it's hard to tell with the Falcons right now. It's hard to predict how good they'll be. Week 8 against the Texans, I've got this as an L. Going up against DeMeco Ryans, it'll be tough. I think Stroud is a really, really good quarterback. Hot take, I know. Nico Collins, he's the type of receiver that the Niners always struggle with. I don't know if they have the type of physicality to really go up against him. I guess you could put Demo on him, but even that, Nico's got the size advantage. They really don't have much of a run game. I think Nick Chubb is going to be their starting quarterback. They've got Damian Pierce. They got Woody Marks. Joe Mixon is on IR. So I think that, that's a plus for the Niners, depending on how good their run game is looking like. But if you can shut down the pass game, you can beat this team. So it'll be a question mark as to that. It'll be interesting to see the 49ers offense against the Texans defense. So I think that'll be the bigger question mark. Of course, Danielle Hunter and Willie Anderson are going to be just Will Anderson, not Willie Anderson. Willie Anderson is the offensive tackle, right, for the Bengals. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, they are going to be tough to block with this offensive line. Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey are going to have their hands full. I'm so sorry, not Mike McGlinchey, Colton McKivitz. Mike McGlinchey hasn't been on the team for 3 years now. I don't know why I was thinking about him. But yeah, so the Texans defense, and they're always really solid. They've got Derek Stingley, of course. Jalen Petrie over the top. So it's going to be a challenge. I have them as an L. Obviously, I can't pick the Niners to win every game here. Of course, I'm going to hope they win every game and go 17-0. But I think that the Texans, it'll be a bit of a tougher game. And I got the Texans coming out on top, unfortunately. But luckily, week 9, going up against the New York Giants in MetLife, unfortunately. You think about when they played the Jets in 2020, and we had the handful of injuries, almost the whole roster. Nick Bosa, ACL, what was it, Solomon Thomas. I mean, everybody was going down. But against the Giants, I've got that as a W. The Giants, another team that'll probably be picking in the top 5 or so. Their quarterback situation is kind of a mess. Wilson is starting week 1, but they drafted Jackson Dart. Their receivers, they don't really have anybody outside of Neighbors. Defensively, they don't have much except for pass rush, really. They've got Abdul Carter, they've got Kayvon Thibodeau, and of course they got Brian Burns and Sexy Dexy Lawrence. So they've got a good pass rush, but that's about it. So if you can get that ball out quick or try to exploit the run, try to get rid of Sexy Dexy. Get rid of him in the blocking sense, of course, not injury sense. Then, makes everybody's lives easier. But I've got the Niners with a dub here. Relatively easy. And then also beating the Rams in week 10 in Levi's. I think there's no way the Niners get swept by anybody in the division. If they do take an L, I think they'll bounce back. So here's one of the cases there. And then they've got another back-to-back divisional games going up against the Arizona Cardinals in week 11 in Arizona. I've got a W in that one as well. Again, I said I don't think Arizona is good enough yet to beat the 49ers. Maybe by then, week 11, they get it together a little bit, and Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison are a dynamic duo, and they have a crazy connection, and Will Johnson is a top 3 corner in the league. Maybe then it's Arizona's game to win. But in this case right now, as it stands, I feel like the Niners gotta win that game. Week 12 against the Carolina Panthers. This is going to be on Monday Night Football. I've got that as a W as well. The Panthers are a fun team to root for. Bryce Young and Teterai McMillan. They just traded Adam Thielen. They've got Hunter Renfrow there. But I feel like their defense is still a bunch of question marks. They have J.C. Horn, yes. They have Derek Brown, yes. But still, nothing to really move the needle to stop an offense like the 49ers. Hopefully by week 12, you got everybody healthy. Hopefully Ayuk is back. Hopefully Ayuk is back by the Tampa Bay game. Really, week 5, week 6, or maybe even the Rams on Thursday night. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea if he comes back on the Buccaneers coming off of a long week. So hopefully by then, Ayuk is healthy and he's 100% and ready to go. Hopefully CMC is fully healed by then too. You've got his kind of revenge game-esque type thing. And obviously, hopefully no other injuries by that time. And just cruise to a W on Monday night. And then week 13 against the Cleveland Browns. I've got this as an L against Cleveland. Jim Schwartz, their DC, always has Kyle Shanahan's number. Shanahan always seems to struggle against Jim Schwartz-led defenses, and I think that this year is going to be just the same. I think it could be a very low-scoring game because, let's be real, the Browns' offense isn't super impressive, but it's going to be a defensive battle. Robert Saleh versus Jim Schwartz. I've just got Jim Schwartz coming out on top because that's what's kind of been a trend recently. But yeah, the Browns are not very good. And I hope that the Niners can beat this team. And then week 14, bye week, we get to rest late in the season, which is honestly good with this schedule. Having the easiest schedule in the entire league obviously doesn't mean much for the most part because you never know how good these teams are going to be. But having that late bye week and to get the team rested and get them all on the same page right before the playoffs that you're hoping you're in line for, I think that could be big. That can be big. I'm always a big fan of like the week 8, week 9 bye weeks, but having it late in the year with an easy schedule and who you face post bye week, hopefully you start gearing up for the playoffs and you start thinking about, okay, what can we do? Because you're coming off the bye week and in week 15, going up against the Tennessee Titans, I've got that as a W. I think that someone like Cam Ward, a young rookie quarterback, I think that Robert Saleh can game plan amazingly against those type of guys. And so I feel like the Tennessee offense is going to be pretty stagnant against the Niners. And hopefully, their defense also isn't much to write home about. So hopefully the offense starts clicking and getting it together. Hopefully Purdy has a big game. I would love to see that really be a statement blowout type win. Week 16 going to the Indianapolis Colts on Monday Night Football. I've got a W here as well. The Colts are another team that has quarterback question marks. Daniel Jones is starting. They also have Anthony Richardson. Who's going to be starting by this time? Who knows? It could be Joe Flacco from the depths. They're just not a very impressive team. Defensively, Charvarius Ward is over there now. Their secondary is solid but young, I feel like. And their pass, they got guys Kwity Paye, DeForest Buckner, who is going to be very fun to see back going up against this time around. But yeah, I've got that as a dub. Week 17 against the Chicago Bears, I've got that as a dub as well. Now, the Bears are a team that I think are going to be very good. I think they have a really good defense, and I'm a big fan of Caleb Williams. And I feel like that their offense can be really good with their new head coach, Ben Johnson from Detroit. I think that their offense could be really cool. I think that Luther Burden, DJ Moore, Roma Dunes are going to have big seasons. I think Caleb Williams is going to be really good. Colston Loveland, all these guys are going to get involved. Their O-line, they totally revamped it for Caleb Williams, so I feel like he should have more time in the pocket. But then their defense is still, the same. I almost feel like it's still the same type of Bears defense. So we'll see how it goes. It could be a loss, I feel like, if the Niners don't come out in their A game. If they come out sloppy and if they come out slow, it could be the type of game like against Minnesota last year where it was just really ugly. It was just sloppy and ugly. This could be that type of game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's that type of game, but overall, I have them picked as a dub because I think there's just too many factors to count it as a loss. And then week 18 in the all-black rivalry uniforms against the Seattle Seahawks, I've got that as a dub. Coming in the all-black, you gotta come and play hard. You gotta play with aura. This could be the game, for the 1 seed in the NFC. So you got to come hard. Seattle could be playing for a playoff spot here, depending on how they do throughout the season. So it should be a fun matchup in week 18. But I've got the 49ers coming out on top, giving us the record of 14-3. A really good record. Again, it's a really easy schedule, honestly. The Saints, the Titans, you can even throw the Browns in there. Jim Schwartz, defensive coordinator, obviously. We'll see how that goes. But, the Panthers, the Colts even, playing the AFC South is big. Of course, I have them having a loss against the Houston Texans, but that could very easily be a dub. I've got a loss against the Rams, could also be a dub. We could be looking at 17-0 here. This is the 49ers. Let's not forget, they are still locked and loaded. They still have Brock Purdy. They still have Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. Hopefully, if he's healthy and he gets back to his old Ayuk self. You can argue that the receiving core is weak, but then there's still the guys, Juwan Jennings and first-round pick Ricky Pearsall. The offensive line, of course, still a weakness. Didn't improve it much in the offseason. So you got to hope guys step up. And then defensively, Robert Saleh is the biggest part of that defense. But you've also got Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, the vets now. And then you've got the young guys, Upton Stout coming in, Marquise Sigel. I think he can be a big part. Malik Mustafa, of course, Deommodore Lenoir, D. Winters, hopefully he starts stepping up. So you've got a lot of key pieces, and I'm still not even naming all the guys there too. All in all, though, I've got a 1 seed in the West, depending on how all else plays out in the NFC, with the Eagles, with the Packers, the Lions, all those other teams, depending on how all that works out. But then I talk about the easiest schedule. I think that they have no excuse not to be the 1 seed, not to be at least first in the division and secure themselves a playoff spot. I've seen people going, they're not even going to win 10 games, 7-10, 6-11, this and that. And I think that is absolutely ridiculous. This team is still talented. This team is better than a majority of the teams that they're playing, as long as they bring their A game, which I think that they will. I think that this team is hungry and they've got something to prove. With that, I will see you guys on hopefully Monday with a game preview or a game recap about the 49ers and Seahawks week 1. Football is back, baby, and I am so happy. And I hope you are too. I'm glad to be here to record for you, and I'm honored for you to want to listen to me. I am truly honored and humbled. I will catch you guys in the next one. Of course, feel free to check out the other social medias in the description below. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.